You're locked in a conversation at a crowded bar. The person across from you is nodding and smiling, but while you listen, your brain is spinning. You're trying to analyze the script to figure out if they're interested or just trapped by politeness. This is the logical brain in high-stakes mode. It treats social flow like a diagnostic test, scanning every spoken word for the right answer to ensure you don't fail or look awkward. But relying on verbal dialogue in these moments is a mistake. Words are often used as a defensive smokescreen, allowing people to remain polite while their true intentions are broadcast elsewhere. To see what's actually happening, we have to look at social physics. This framework suggests that attraction and tension follow observable physical laws that the conscious mind cannot easily override. Decoding true interest requires a shift in perspective. You have to stop acting as a performer trying to nail a part and start acting as an observer reading physiological data. The process begins the moment you enter a room. Before you speak, you scan the group physics, the spatial formations people naturally fall into. A closed circle of people acts as a defensive barrier, signaling the group is focused inward. However, an open V or U formation is a geometric invitation, showing the cluster is subconsciously prepared for external interaction. Within these groups, you can identify the hierarchy by tracking the physical orientation of their torsos. Most members will point their shoulders towards the center of gravity, the person they perceive as the most high value or interesting in that moment. Once you move from group geometry to an individual, the most honest data point is found at the floor level. Even if a person maintains polite eye contact, their feet reveal their exit strategy. If their toes are pointed toward the door or a different part of the room, their brain is already moving toward the next interaction. By identifying these formations early, you avoid wasting energy on closed groups and can move directly toward people who are biologically open to a conversation. Zooming in on a one-on-one interaction, the focus shifts to the economy of motion, how a person manages their physical presence. A person who feels secure in their status tends to remain physically still. They don't need to fidget or constantly adjust to hold their ground. Nervousness triggers high-frequency self-soothing behaviors. Fidgeting with a drink, touching the face, or checking a phone are signals of an internal system override, where the person struggles to stay grounded. You can also measure authority through the invisible metrics of vocal pacing and the interruption count. This chart tracks the audio waveforms of a typical exchange. Notice how one speaker consistently overrides the other. Tracking who controls the airtime and who allows themselves to be cut off reveals the dominant and submissive roles in real time. This economy of motion defines the power dynamic. The person with the stillness is the anchor of the interaction, while the fidgeting counterpart is usually the one seeking validation. At the tightest level, we look for biological responses that bypass conscious control entirely, providing the most reliable markers of chemistry. The mirror effect is a subconscious synchronization, where one person begins to mimic the physical shifts or gestures of the other. If you take a sip of your drink and the person you're with does the same within 5 seconds, you've established a deep biological rapport that words haven't even touched yet. Finally, in a group setting, you use the laugh test to identify the real lines of attraction. When a group laughs collectively, human instinct forces people to look directly at the person whose validation they crave most. It is an involuntary map of social hierarchy. These microtells provide raw data. While a person can choose their words, they cannot prevent their pupils from dilating or their eyes from seeking out the person they find most magnetic. Shifting your focus from what you should say to what you can see changes the entire social experience. Performance anxiety is usually fueled by high-stakes mode, where you're hyper-focused on your own internal performance. By turning your attention outward to gather data on formations and mirroring, that internal spotlight shuts off. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to solve the conversation with clever lines, you simply observe the pre-existing alignment. If the mirroring and proximity aren't there, no amount of banter will force them into existence. This outward focus naturally protects your energy. You stop overanalyzing rejection because you can see a closed formation or a fleeing foot angle before you've even invested a single word. In the end, the body broadcasts the truth of attraction long before the conscious mind even realizes it's happened. Learning to read the physics simply means you're finally seeing the room in high definition.